Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce my mentor and my inspiration in this business, Presidential Director Paul Orberson.
Thanks. You know something, we all do this for different reasons, but most of them involve our families. For somewhere down the road, that it all comes back to we're doing it for family or friends or just groups we want to help. I'm going to be talking about 55 minutes, and I don't want to bore you, but some of it's going to be technical things, which is almost unheard of coming from me. And some of it will be things that aren't so technical, which would be normal. Some of it will be a little humorous. You know, some of the things that we hear just aren't true. And that's part of what I'm going to talk about this afternoon. About some of the things that we're told. I know when I came in this business, I was told that this company had been bankrupt. It had been run out of business in Alabama. That we'd been run out of the state of Virginia. We'd been run out of all this stuff. And now you've gotten involved with that and you're a criminal too. You've heard the same things. Well, see, it's not what you don't know that gets you in trouble in business. It's what you know for sure that just isn't true that gets you in trouble in business. Those things were not true. But they came from people I had known my whole life, so I respected their opinion. And when they told me that won't work, I at least started listening to those people. That won't work. I kept that in the back of my mind. This won't work, but I'm going to try to make it work. But that won't work. So I listened to that. And so you're kind of, like I said last night, the worlds we fight between, I was going back and forth between those two worlds. It's tough. But remember, most of the people you listen to are broke. You don't want to be like that, no way. You know, when you start in this business, the surest way to fail is to be sure and listen to family, friends, and neighbors. Be sure and listen to them, and you'll be just like them. And there's nothing wrong with being just like them in some ways, but in financial ways, most of them we do not want to be like, do we? We just don't. I want to be a lot like my grandfather. I just don't want to be like him financially. I want to be a lot like my parents, but not financially. So if I don't want to be like them financially, I cannot listen to them about business. If they say don't play in the streets, then don't play in the streets. If they say go to college, go to college. But if we're talking about business now, listen to people, and it's been said this morning, and I want to thank Jeff, and I don't know, but Jeff may have said that this morning, that we have to listen to people that know and have been around and have earned some money for us to get better. You and I are going to be, I've read this one time and it's true, I think it's really true. Your 4 or 5 best friends, your income is going to match your 4 or 5 best friends' incomes. And it's kind of like it's kind of like at lunch. I just got up and left the place, and a guy, it's kind of neat. But the guy, when I got up and left and walked out and from the first table, I was at 2 different tables. When I left the first table and I walked out, a guy grabbed me there at the counter. He says, well, I guess the average income of that table just went down. Well, you know something? Here's what I want you to understand this day. Understand that the people that make money, they're just like me and you. They're no different. They're just like us. They're no different. People all the time, they'll come up to you, or I've seen them come up to Bob and some other people, and they'll just say, I want to just touch you. Like you're different. Nobody is no different. It's just hanging through the tough times that makes people any different at all. And that nobody's got any special. Oh, some people have talent. Some people are talented as Bob. I'm not one of them. Some people can speak. Some people can think. Some people can do all sorts of things. It's not talent at all. It's just not quitting. This business is really just not quitting. But don't listen to your family, friends, and neighbors. You know, Voight's a piece of work too, and I want to talk about Jim real quick. Here's a guy that called me after he started making money, and we're not going to talk income, but you know, Jim Voight called me, and I'll never forget, because he's an old country boy just like me, and I'd just gotten a couple of those Lexus cars, and it was kind of novelty to me too, you know. And he called me and he said, Orb, what kind of car is it you got? Them cars you've been saying you knew. I rode in last time I was up there at your house. And I said, Lexus. And he said, well, I'm going to get me one of them Lexicuses. Honest to goodness truth. Here's a guy that can't pronounce it, but he can go get one. Look, what a country this is we live in. You know, think about this now real quick. You say, well, I don't know anything about long distance. I don't know anything about networking. I'm saying it's okay. Only in this country can you go make a lot of money at something you know nothing about. And only in this country can you stay broke at something you're an expert at. You got a bunch of experts, but they're broke. Keep in mind this fact also on all those tough days and tough nights, because if they haven't happened yet, I can promise you they will. In this business, you're not paid. This is a different way of thinking now. I'm not trying to, this is not a mind changing or me trying to play games, but it's a different way of thinking. In this business, you're not paid for what you do, you're paid for what you start. Okay? There is a big time difference. Now, when I taught school, I got paid for what I did. And after getting paid for what I started, I like getting paid for what I started better. You and I are going to get paid later on, and that's the hard part for most people, because everything's instant today. You got to have instant. But a year, maybe 6 months, a year and a half down the road, you and I are paid for our efforts yesterday. Remember, work is okay. It's okay to work. But to have to continue to work for money is no good. At some point, you and I have to see a point at which we can stop and money will come in. I know it sounds too good to be true. Let me talk about sound too good to be. You ever heard that one about this? Well, it sounds too good to be true. It can't be true. Picture this. Let's picture if I bought a Florida lottery ticket, if I had come here today, and if the drawing is tonight, and it is, and if my wife was at home, and I would call back and find out tomorrow morning, before I left here for the airport, what the numbers were that won. And let's say Carla read the 6 numbers I had. And let's say I'm sitting upstairs in a hotel room and the $22 million lottery this week, and I've got the 6 numbers. Now what would I do? Would I tear up the ticket and say, well, that's too good to be true. I won it. That was too good to be true. Nope. I'd keep the ticket, wouldn't I? I'd keep it. Would it be too good to be true? Yeah. It would be too good to be true. But at the same time, it would be true, and I'd be a fool to tear up the ticket. That's what we've got here. This thing can pay me and you for our efforts directly. So let me talk about being busy real quick, condensing everything down. All we're doing in this business is condensing everything down. We're condensing 30 or 40 years of work into 2 or 3 years. Because if your goal is to be financially independent in 3 years' time, let's say 3 years' time, I'm going to be financially independent. I don't want to work no more. See, I kept telling my wife, honey, y'all ever done this? Some of you? You just give me, you're married to a stud, you just don't know it. You just give me 3 years, and you know how they'll do? They roll their eyes. You know why? Because they've heard it all before, haven't they? Know you better than anybody. So when we tell our spouses, honey, this time it's going to be different, and they look at us like we've lost our mind, understand the point of reference they're coming from is we've never done anything big yet. Why is this time going to be any different? But you're condensing down 30 years of work into 2 or 3. Now it only makes sense that those 2 or 3 years are going to be very busy years. If we're going to condense down a lifetime of work into 2 or 3. Remember now, I don't want to get this crazy, but life is made of time, right? Time is the stuff life is made of. We're talking about me and you taking back our own time and having our own time to ourselves. When you start out in this business, money is more important to time because most of us in this room today sell our time for money. Right? We do. We go to a job, we're selling ourselves for money. When you start out, when most of us start in this business, we're selling ourselves for money. Me too. Later on, time becomes more important than money. So that you start backing, Bob kind of closed last night, I've been backing 1 foot out of this business And I'll get like this, and then I'll say, well, I like it so much, I'm going to go. And I'm not backed completely out, but I've been backing away. And what happens when you've built a residual income, even if you sat down on an escalator, you're going up, aren't you? So what happened? Now one thing, listen to me. I know this is different. I know your mother probably wouldn't believe this, but I'm suggesting, and I'm not talking bad about your mother or your father, but they probably don't make any money. Now, I don't know, I mean, that's not true in every case, but I'm just saying, it's a different way of thinking, but just at least listen to it. You start backing away, and as you watch your income continues to grow, so that you're making more money than you ever made in your life, and you're actually working less to get it. See, that's contrary to everything you and I were taught. Here's a perfect example. Think of this. How many times have we been told as children, or even on up into young adults, we hear, work hard, get you a good education, go out there if you like what you do. There's another, and if you like what you do, boy, if you got a good education, you like what you do, get to training, and you got a good attitude, and you're persistent, you'll win. Everything will be okay. It won't. It will not. It ain't never been that way. It ain't never going to be that way. Here's a fact to back it up. Think of the people at the Alamo. They worked hard. They were the most dedicated people you've ever met, probably. They were passionate about what they were doing. They were well prepared as they could be for that day. And every single one of those people died. You know why? They were fighting a battle they could not win. They could not win. There was no way they could win that battle. They were outnumbered so much. Well, you know what? That's the way we are. But we walk around as if we're going to get be a martyr, and we're only going to become the parents of our children, because by golly, life has passed me by, but it won't pass my kids by too. So I'm going to work hard. You see, most of us, think about this now, have already got our lives lived out in our minds. You know, I lived it out. And I'd already lived it out back in 1990 when I came in this business. I'd already had it planned. I was going to teach school for 27 years. I was going to retire from school teaching. I would be 49 years old. I'd be drawing 70% of my school teaching income. Wouldn't have to do nothing to get it either. Be retired. Then I could go do something else. Well, ain't that fun? You keep this in mind. Now, we're broke for 27 years when we teach school. You retire, you get to retire on 70% of broke. And you know what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to like that. So, yeah, I like this. We're having fun. I like it a lot, yes. But then the other kind of people, you know what the normal people, these normal thinking people, they're broke, but they're normal. You know what they say? Yeah, but you had your benefits. You had your health insurance. And besides that, a lot of people don't even have jobs, and you had a job. Folks, that's nonsense. I was going to say something bad. That's nonsense. Nonsense. That, again, comes from broke people. They're over here saying, yeah. Listen now, keep in mind, we're raised with normal people, most of us. Most of us live with normal people, and so the only way we can think's normal. I'm going to give you another example. My little girl, we live in a pretty good neighborhood today. You know that deck Carla talked about, we finally finished it on that other old house in Kentucky, and then Dad blame it, we don't even live in that house no more, no way. Moved to this neighborhood, and in this neighborhood where I live today, it's a gated community and kids ride around. Back when I was a kid, we used to ride bicycles to each other's houses. You'd jump on a bike, you'd go see another kid. You know what they do in that neighborhood? This is a different way of thinking, but I like it. They ride golf carts to each other's houses. Every kid's got a golf cart. So if you see 4 or 5 golf carts at the houses, at one house, you know a bunch of kids are there playing. I know it's different. I mean, that's not good. That doesn't. Who says that's not good? We walk around as if there's some kind of prize for being broke. Like, no, seriously, like we're going to go, oh, poor old me. If I just get in 3 more years, I'll be all right. I've only got 10 more years. We walk around, we think that we're going to go to a higher place in heaven if we are broke on earth. There's nowhere that is suggested or taught. Out of Scripture, out of anybody that's got any sense. That all comes, this is a different way of thinking, it all comes from broke people, passed down from parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, down all the way through us, and it's just a cycle. It's like poverty on a different level. It never stops. If you don't step out in your family, I'm suggesting to you it may never happen in your family. And you know what? I have found this out. All it takes in your family is one person to make it big in a business. One person, and you can change your entire family's life. One person can make a difference. Don't believe it when you hear one person cannot make a difference. One person can make a big-time difference. Another thing is, don't beg people to do this business. You ever say, I've stayed after Joe. I've talked to him, and he says he thinks he's going to probably maybe come in. He's got to see his accountant and CPA, and he's going to see all these people about opinion, make a phone call to the BBB and all this junk. Or here's another. I talked to my attorney, and he said that what? Now, this is a different way of thinking. I'm suggesting to you, your attorney's broke. What would he know about business anyway? I'm not trying to be smart. I want you to think about it. When I went back to my school to get other teachers to look at this business, and when an English teacher told me, and it destroyed my soul, but she said, I won't do that. That company won't even be in business in 2 years. I'm not about to put my reputation on the line. They won't here it is. Them things never last. It tore my soul apart. But let's stop and look at that just a minute, what I was listening to. And I did listen. And I did think about what she said. I thought so much that I still think about it in a different way. But let's think about what she told me. She's telling me that what I'm doing won't work. She's telling me the business I'm in won't even be around. Let me ask you this. What does she know about business anyway? If she knew so much about business, she wouldn't have been teaching English for 25 years. She'd have been in business, wouldn't she? Kind of like my daddy used to say, if you're so smart, why ain't you rich? I used to tell him when we was painting houses, I'd tell him how to paint, we need a 40-footer, 20-footer, not a whole, but how we're going to do it. He said, boy, if you're so smart, why ain't you rich? Well, it's kind of thing, if you think about this, think about the people you listen to. Think about who's telling you what, and if you want to be like them anyway. See, I didn't want to be like that English teacher, so I probably shouldn't and didn't. In the very end, I did not listen to her anyway. Don't listen to people you don't want to be like. I respectfully suggest that. Have y'all figured out this thing ain't for normal people? Not suggesting that we're all nuts in here, but I'm suggesting to you this again. Not telling you nothing, just suggesting. I'm asking or maybe bringing up another point that you don't want to be normal. No way. Normal people drive normal cars. They live in normal houses. Which brings up a point. When I was growing up, when we got married, we lived in a house that was a $35,000 house. We borrowed money at the age of 25 or 26 to buy that house. We borrowed money. My dad co-signed a loan. There I go. I'm trotting off. Boy, I've got me a house. My first house payment was $330 a month. Back when interest rates were higher, $330 a month, and I had the great American dream. My mother and father-in-law came to look at my house. My mother-in-law said, "It's cute." I said, "Thank you." Hated that word. I hated the word cute. Moved on, 3, 4, 5 years go by. We bought another house. Fixed it up a little bit, fixed up the yard a little bit. It was a house that my mother-in-law had used to live in, and that's a nice house. Time went on, we built a house. My mother-in-law came by and said, that's a nice house. Folks, I, like a lot of you, didn't want no cute house. I don't want to have to tell you, I live in the third, come to the stoplight, come to the stop sign, take a third house on the right. I don't want to live in the third house on the right. I don't want to live in the fifth house on the left. I want one where my mother-in-law comes by and says, none of that cute stuff. She don't say that. I always wanted one where she just come up in front yard and looked up and just said, gosh. Hey, let me tell you something. You only get to live one time. But if you live one good time, that's enough. I'd be afraid to come back in the next life. You might have to have a job next time once you get used to calling your own shots. Once you get used to that, you won't want to ever go back to work for anybody else. It's not comfortable at first for some of us because we don't come out of backgrounds that prepare us for this. But if you can talk to people, if you can just talk to people. And what I used to ask people was, how would you like to make money when people push one on a telephone? I never had a person yet say, ooh. You mean when somebody uses a telephone long distance and pays their phone bill, you get paid? Yeah, that's right. No, I wouldn't want to do that. You mean they pay their phone bills and I get paid? Yeah, right. No, that ain't for me. Not a person I ever talked to said that didn't sound good. And they'd say, well, yeah, but how you do that, or that's dreaming, or whatever. But then that gets into step 2. See, I never was a high-pressure, high-force person. Really, basically, what you see with most of us is what you get. And it's really true with me, too. I never could feel pressured. I could never force anybody into this business. Don't try to beg people into this business. Stay after a person until you have shown them this business. Once you have shown them the business, it's then their responsibility to respond. Okay? Don't you stay after, so I know so-and-so and he stayed after so-and-so. Let me tell you something. By the time you stay after 100 people, you could have gone and gotten 2 or 3 people just said, hey, I'm ready to get started. You cannot talk anybody. If they won't do it for their children, their wives, their husbands, their parents, if they won't do it for them, they're not going to do it for you. Some people are determined to stay broke. They're going to prove it to you. They're going to die broke. You're not going to change them. I know what some of you are thinking too. Well, I'm going to come in this business and then other people that see me, they're going to come, in 3 years, they're going to be just knocking my door down to come in this business. They ain't. Did you ever hear the story of Pharaoh in the Bible? Not only do that now, their hearts are harder than they were when you started. They don't change. It's our own arrogance. If you admit it to yourself, if I'm nothing, and I am nothing. And if I admit, okay, look, I know I'm nothing. And I don't mean talk yourself into thinking you're worthless and all that. But if we'll just say, look, I know I can do better. I know I ain't doing what I can do today. And only you know that. But most of us could probably say that. Only then can you go from there. But as long as you don't think you need this business, I can assure you this thing is so tough, you will not do this business. Let me tell you, if you have any other choice in life as a way to make money, you will not do this business in a big way. You may be part-time. You may make a couple $100s a month or a couple $1,000s a month. That's up to you. But I'm assuring you, if you have a choice in life, this thing is too tough to do because you will go back to that. And as I've told you last night, I went back to looking for a job after I got in this business, 6 months into it, my 9th month in this business. The month I quit and went full-time in this business, the very month in May of 1991 that I quit my job and went full-time, I was paid $1,200 in this business. And I was sitting there thinking, but if I go full-time, I can double that, and I'll be making what I'm making teaching. I'll be better off because I'll own my own business, own my own life. I'll be better off even with the same income. I know I can go full-time and do it. And I quit my job, and I kid you not, my income stayed level for the next 6 months. Didn't go anywhere. So I've quit my job. I'm out here, and I got my family, friends, and everything, and everybody's praying for you and thinking, boy. And thank God those prayers, I know people prayed for me, and people are praying for you too. They really are. You don't even know who they are, but they're praying for you. And I'm one of those people praying for you every single day. Honestly, I pray, dear God, you don't have to do that, that I know there's people out there this second ready to quit. I know there are. This second they're ready to say, that's it. Please, dear God, give them the faith to hang on one more day, one more week. And so, but I said one of those prayers like, you know, I was making no money, things were going downhill fast, making a house payment, making 2 car payments, living a normal life. Now I'm less than normal. And I would come home, and Carla, the only light on in my neighborhood was in my house when I started back in 1990, and early 91, especially late 91, after I was full-time, the only light on was one light on left in the hall in my house. And I would come in a lot of nights, and I would look around the neighborhood, and I would see every light in the neighborhood was off except mine. But I knew, and I thought, you know, and you're going to be thinking the same thing. I thought, Orberson, you're stupid. You've left a good job. You've left something that you had 13 years in, that you had a job for life. You've left that to go to something like this where you don't know if you're going to have a paycheck next week. What were you thinking? What could you have been thinking in that weak moment? And you know something? As bad as it was, I knew I never, even at that time, I knew I never wanted to go back to working for somebody else the rest of my life. I knew if God gave me the health, and that's something I couldn't always count on, but I knew if that happened, that I was always going to be, I always knew I would work hard enough to be in business for myself. And so a lot of nights my light would be the only one. I'd go in, you know, hey folks, that ain't the easy side of this business. See, everybody talks about the millions of dollars now. Everybody talks about, oh, what's it like living such and such? You know, you don't wash your own cars no more. You know, you don't have to do your own yard no more. I love people say, well, I like doing my yard. Hey, let me tell you something. You just ain't had nobody doing your yard yet. You like that better. You know, you don't want to clean your own house either. I'm telling you, you don't. You just think you do. You don't. Hey, listen, all this stuff has got to have people to go with it, to take care of that stuff. If not, it just takes up more of your time, which is the stuff life is made of, to take care of that stuff. That stuff's got to be taken care of for you. Okay? You don't want it, so that means you just make a little more money. But as I prayed, I said something like, dear God, I know you said you'd never put more on me than I can handle, but this is getting ridiculous. Just don't trust me so much. I'm up. This time's up. I cannot do that. I can't handle this. But you know something? I started looking for a job. I got weak and I started looking for a job. And I found one. And I found one with, as Carla said, a picture-taking company. And I got that job, and they paid me a little old salary, and I was going to go around to all these schools and sell. This is 1991. And I'm going to go around to all these schools, and I did. And I started out with them, and then I went to their training seminar about 3 weeks into that business. I went to a training seminar, and the guy stood up in front of the room in front of about 50 people and gave a normal talk. And here was the normal talk. If you work this business right, in the next 2 years, you could be making $60,000 a year. When I heard that, I mentally turned off. When I left that day from school and drove back to Danville, Kentucky, I was finished. I never reported back. I called and told them I wouldn't be back. I would rather, once I had started thinking different, I'd have rather have died than to go back to a world where I couldn't think like I wanted to think. And when the guy was standing up there, y'all don't have it. When the guy was standing up there talking, I immediately turned off $60,000. That's nuts, because I'd already bought the terminology of, and I'm not projecting income for you, but I'd already started buying the terminology of $10,000 a month. You know, people talk about what people are making. They'd say 10, 20, 50, 100, 500. You know, this ain't me, it ain't you, like 800, 900 and stuff. And so, you know what? Once I started, hey, we talking about a month. See, once you get used to the terminology monthly, and then somebody tells you go back $60,000 a year, it don't sound good. And I'd already started using terminology. This guy in Houston's making 10 a month. And I didn't mean $10. I meant 10. Everything's thousands. And you start dealing 100, that's not hundreds, that's hundreds of thousands. It's a different way of thinking, but it's a good way of thinking. So I said that little prayer, and I said, I gotta go. Didn't know what else to do. Had to keep running, had to keep moving. Got 30 days late on a house payment, got 60 days late. Kept telling Carl, everything's okay, babe. I got it covered. You're married to a stud, remember? Have you forgot that? First LDU check back in March of '91 came in, $6.83. I kept telling her I was going to be full-time. She says, well, boy, this is a good deal you're into. Why don't I quit my job too? We'll both go full-time. We'll make $14 a month and we'll starve to death together. So anyway, as the story evolves, even after going full-time, still about didn't make it. Still to this day don't know why I quit my job. I still don't know why. And there's people in this room the same way. Something is going to trigger you someday when things get so bad. If you're not ready to do this in a big way, or to do anything, if you're not ready to do something in a big way, then things ain't bad enough for you yet. And they may never get bad enough. They're bad enough. But it's just having the courage to act. I used to see kids in school get picked on, little kids get picked on by big kids, and they'd pick on those kids and pick on those kids, and you'd want so bad as the teacher for that little kid to haul off and smack the big one so bad you couldn't stand it. But I wouldn't. I'd try to, just tell them to stop picking on. But you know what? All it took was one time that little kid turn around, haul off, and knock a soup out of that big kid. That's a Kentucky saying. I'm sorry. I revert back every once in a while. But you know what? No matter how that fight came out, that big kid from that point on would leave that little kid alone because he knew he'd fight back. You know what? Some of you have watched it in your families. I've watched it in my family. I saw my father take it and 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 didn't fight back. He fought back the best way he thought he knew how. I saw my grandparents take it and take it and take it, never fought back, never fought back. And I, at some point, and you at some point, have to determine if I'm going to fight back. Well, I'll tell you what. There's some of us in this room will fight back. And you know what? No matter how bad or good the fight is, we'll fight. And once you know that you will fight. Once I knew when I went to my neighbor's house, David Kammick, to get him to be my first customer outside of my family, I walked up to his door. Some of you have done the very same thing. I walked up to his door. I knocked on the door and I prayed to God. Nobody was home. As I stood there at the door, my heart beat fast, my blood, the heart pulse in my eyeballs is just like, I couldn't have spoken a word if he had come to the door. And that's a true story. Stood there, knocked again, nobody there, turned around, walked back to my little truck, got in it, and drove home. But when I got in the truck, I knew I could do this business. There are turning points in your business career, in this business, that you say, that's it, I can do it. And at that point, I knew I could do it. Because I just did something I hated. And that was go up to his door and ask him to be my customer. It's contrary to my nature. It's contrary to my nature to ask anybody for anything. And that's the honest truth. But the only thing worse than this business for me is being broke. That is far worse than this business. So if you don't want to do this business, okay, great. Join the crowd. Me neither. If you're not having fun every day, okay, great. Me neither. You ain't having fun every day anyway. Since when do you think you're going to start having fun every day? You're like, well, I don't think I'd like to do that. And you like your job? Well, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Ask somebody if they like their job, they'll give you 1,000 reasons they hate it. Ask them if they hate their job, they'll give you 1,000 reasons they like it. I used to ask people, do you like your job? And get you a notepad out because they're going to give you 1,000 reasons they hate it. Don't ever ask anybody if they like their job. I mean, if they hate their job. Because I say, well, it ain't that bad. Remember the frog story? Frog never knew it was cooked. Never knew. And you know something? That's us too. We get cooked and we don't even know when it happened. We can't even remember, oh, that's not me. Let me tell you what, your kids and my kids, if we don't do something different, are doomed to an average life. You're doomed. They're doomed to an average life. And people say, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being average? Everything, if you can do better. Everything, if you can do better. Why would somebody go be average, put your wife in an average house, make your wife drive a dead-blame average car, send your kids to an average school when you go play church league softball, or you trot off to the races about twice a week, or you play golf 3 days a week, and put your wife in an average house? I'll never understand that. You know, there ain't no sense in trying to explain it to me. I don't understand it. Never did understand it. Just didn't know any way around it. If a person in this country today doesn't make a lot of money, there's one of two problems. There can only be one of two problems. If you don't make a lot of money in this country, I'm going to get back to the money argument in just a minute. If you don't make a lot of money in this country, you're either lazy or ignorant of a way to do it. It's one of the two. There can be no other answer. And if I know about this business, there can only be one answer. That it's tough, so what? It's tough on all of us. How much do you love your kids? And I'm not equating, this is not a brainwashing, that's not what I'm doing. But how much do you love your kids? How much do you love giving money away? How much do you love giving to church? How much do you love giving to your spouse? How much do you like giving to your parents? Do you know by giving your parents $10,000 a year each from each spouse, you can give your parents $40,000 a year? You and your spouse can? Well, you know $40,000 a year ain't much, but you know how much difference that can make in your parents' life? And you can do that with your mother and father-in-law too? It may not mean a lot to you, but it means a lot to them. Big time difference. All because one person refused to quit. And that person was either me for my family or you for yours. It ain't fun. This ain't for cute people. This ain't for the, walk around, we do this stuff. It ain't for that kind of person. It's not for the high society type people. This thing is raunchy work. I mean, it's hard. But it ain't that hard. I mean, it's bad, but it ain't that bad when you consider the rewards for it. Because as good as I thought being financially independent would be, it's better. I mean, I used to sit and think what it'd be like when I was driving all over God's gracious Bible. I'd say, oh man, someday, the old someday. Someday, man, I'm going to be sitting on a beach down there and ain't nobody going to bother me, and I'm going to be just drinking lemonade and ain't nothing going to be, I don't care. The worst thing in my life will be a cloud. Used to think of that, of how good it'd be to have a few dollars coming in no matter what. Boy, it'd be just, something as good as I thought it'd be. It's better. Knowing what I know now and knowing what some very successful people in this room, in this business, know now, they would have paid, and I would have paid 10 times the price knowing what I know now. Only by thinking there ain't no difference between first class and coach can you think any other way. I mean, you use that argument, well, you're only going to get there at the same time. No way. Folks, you ain't. It's not true. Why have to go through life worrying about money all the time? You know what most of us do when we come to worrying money? We start cutting back and saving money. You live a life, I live a life of either, get this now, we either live a life of contribution or of survival. One of the two. You're either thinking of a way of paying your electric bill, your house payment, your car payment, worried about your retirement, your health insurance, or you've taken care of all that and now you're in an attitude of contribution. How much can I do for other people? How much can I give to my parents? How much can I give to my brother? How much can I give to my sister? How much can I give to my church? How much can an attitude of contribution? And I'm suggesting to you it's a whole lot easier to live, once you get there mentally, a life of contribution than it is a life of survival, because what ends up happening, our kids end up living that same life of survival. Then we got to worry about our grandkids too, because here's our attitude. Parents, here we are. Oh, life's passed me by. I hate what I do. I don't like what I do. I've been doing it for 20 years. I'm so sick of it. I could do it blindfolded. I hate it. I don't like it. But I'm going to hold on because I'm going to get my kids through college. And when I do, my kids are never going to work at a place like this. My kids will never do what I'm doing. They're going to go to college. I'm going to make sure I'll give them lunch money. When I don't have money, I'll give them field trip money. When I don't have money, you will do it, won't we? We'll all do it. So what we do is we start thinking life's passed us by, and we start directing our efforts towards our kids. Forget us. We've already put our efforts in. Nothing wrong with that, except we've died ourselves. So we say, okay, and we put all our money in our kids. Our kids get better clothes than we do, and rightfully so. Any of us in this room would give our kids better than what we have. We'll send them we'll borrow money. Some of us in this room have done it. We'll borrow money to send kids to college. Maybe to colleges we really can't afford to have them have a better life. And you know what happens to those kids? They get out of school and they live the same life you lived. If somebody doesn't change it financially, it goes on and on and on. And your grandkids and your great-grandkids, think of this. 92% of the people in this country cannot tell you the first name of either side's great-great-grandparents. 92% of the people in the country. But you know what? Henry Ford's great-great-grandchildren can tell you their first name of their great-great-grandfather. You know why? Because he paid a price. He paid a tremendous price. You say, well, I do too. Now, remember that's the Alamo argument? You can pay all the price you want, but if you ain't got a chance, you don't have a chance. Kind of like the old boy walked up to the Indian chief and said to the Indian chief, chance. Indian chief looked up at the boy and he says, no, sir, you don't mean chance, you mean how. And the old boy said, I know how, I need a chance. Some of us know how. We can talk to people. We'll work hard. This is our chance. And that's what it always did represent to me. Here's what I tell you about associations. Somebody asked me to comment on it. Associations and all these different things you get into, and voice tell, and I'm not condemning all those things. I'm just saying this. If it takes you away from your core business, which is talking to people either for yourself or for your people, don't do it. I know when I started out and started an association in Lexington, Kentucky, we had about 8 or 10 of us then. And you know what? The problem is when you go to renting a bunch of fancy buildings, trying to fake it till you make it, driving a bunch of cars you can't afford to get the kind of people you really don't need in the business in the first place. The problem is that when you go get in those office spaces, your business don't end up there no way. I'm glad I didn't go ahead and buy an office building in Lexington, Kentucky, because I don't even go there no more. I've been in my own. The only reason I ever opened up an office anyway back in 1994 was to give my mother a job. That's the honest truth. I was making a lot of money before I even need. What I'm saying is don't get hung up in what looks to be a good business. You know, well, I'm going to have this place set aside. If you want an office, that's your choice. You can do that. But don't get hung up. The most successful people in this business, they may have an office, but they don't spend no time there. I haven't been in my office since March of '95. Still pay rent every month. Mom still goes in. Marge still goes in every day. I don't want to go in there. You can't make no money in an office. You got to get out where the people are. You got to move around. But the training part, don't try to kill people in training. Well, I'm going to tell you all about the industry today. See, Bob and LaDonna have to do that because as RDs, if we're going to train others, we have to know more, a little bit more than the basic things, because somebody's going to be a wise guy or a wise girl and going to ask a bunch of questions, so we need to be prepared for them. But for the most part, don't kill people with training. I was sitting at a meeting this past week. Get this now, at the business presentation, and at the very end, here's the way they closed the meeting. Now, you also need to be, that was 2 weeks ago, you need to be on our voice, whatever it is, our voicemail system. And to be on our voicemail system is going to be $29.95 a month. And if you're a new rep, you need to seriously consider doing that. And then if you're on that, we also have a paging system. I'm going to tell you what, by the end of the thing, there was 4 things that new rep had to do after they came into business to get to be communicating with the top leadership. I'm suggesting to you, you don't want to communicate with them that much, no way. I mean, some of them just get out of the way. The ones that need help are going to call for help. Help those people. I never went and opened up a town. I always went for other people. Other people said, I've got 2 people in Bowling Green. Can you drive down there and see them? I would. I was full time. Those people had jobs. I say, I'll go see them. And I went to see those people and they said, I got a person in Paducah. You go see them. Y'all drive over there. It's not about getting on, and I don't mean to be coming off wrong here, but don't get hung up in the stuff that looks like you're doing business. It's just stuff that looks like you're doing business. There is no substitute for getting in your car, getting on an airplane, getting on the phone, and talking to somebody. There is no substitute. You cannot do it. I got one more thing, and when you think about it, only in this country can people like me and you go make a lot of money. And once people start making a lot of money, we have heard the stories of people changing. Oh, I know, here's your parents. Now, they never made no money, they're going to tell you about it. Or your grandparents. This is not turning you against them. This is respectfully saying, but on financial matters is what I'm talking about. But your parents say, well, I know Joe. Joe made a bunch of money and then he changed. Then you say, oh my God, I don't ever want to change. I don't want to do that then. Well, you know something? I'm suggesting to you, and I've brought up the idea myself, that change may not be bad in some of us. But you know something? You can be you. Money don't have to change you. See, and it's an old trite thing, but money ain't good or bad. It's just there. It's just stuff. Now think about this real quick. You know what? Think about this. This is deep stuff. This is unusually deep stuff for me. You know, the same check that you get in the mail, that's the kind of check I get too. It's written on the same paper. It's cut on the same date. Everything looks the same except the amount for most of us. Oh, it may have 2 or 3 zeros, 4 or 5 zeros, and 6 or 7 zeros or whatever it's got. But you know something? Here's the point. That check don't know it's a lot or a little. The money you make don't know it's a lot or a little. I'm suggesting to you the money don't care. So then that puts it back on us, and only if I care does that check really care. And once you start making some money, once you get a few bills, get some things paid off. I know there's a built-up, pent-up demand in there. You'd like to pay a house off. You'd like to pay. Once you get all that stuff, and once you've still got some money coming in, you will see. I know you will, because most of you are very good people. You will see. You will see. It is more fun. It is more fun to give money away. I'll swear to my soul. It's more fun to give money away than it is to get it. And I'd heard that my whole life, and I never could figure it out. But it's more fun to give it away than it is to get it. Because if you really think about it, everything is just a gift from God anyway, on this earth. I want to thank you for paying attention. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Paul Orberson.